There's panic in Cleveland. Not because the Browns are 0-2. Not because the offense is flatter than a day-old soda. Not even because the front office is reportedly holding late-night, emergency meetings to figure out which part of the building is metaphorically, and possibly literally, on fire. The panic comes from the fact that Kevin Stefanski has done the unthinkable. After publicly downplaying Shedeur Sanders, writing him off as not ready, as still learning, as a long-term project.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
He's reversed course. Backpedaled harder than a cornerback in man coverage. After 2 losses and 1 deeply uncomfortable press conference, Shedeur Sanders is not only in the conversation, he's suiting up. And the football world? It's fuming. Because nothing drives the NFL media cycle like a public flip-flop drenched in desperation. Let's rewind this mess, shall we? 2 weeks ago, Stefanski was cool as a cucumber. Dismissive. Almost smug. When asked about Shedeur getting reps, he responded like it was the most ridiculous thing he'd heard all week. He's not ready, Stefanski said, as if that was the final word. You could almost hear the subtext, we're not desperate enough yet. Fast forward to today, and guess what? Desperation is dripping from the rafters at Browns HQ. The offense can't score. The O-line is leaking like a bad faucet. Wide receivers are dropping balls like it's a team-wide allergic reaction. The rushing game? Non-existent. 2.4 yards per carry in the first half of both games. 5 drops in 2 weeks. Fans are already booing. The energy is toxic. And so, like clockwork, Stefanski panics. The man who refused to entertain the idea of playing Shedeur Sanders now announces that Sanders will be taking meaningful snaps. Just like that. Cue the chaos. Critics are already calling it cowardice. Fans are torn, half elated, half furious. Media pundits are lining up to roast Stefanski for waiting until the fan base was in open rebellion before making the obvious call. But here's the thing, this was never just about football. It was about ego. See, Stefanski made a decision, a loud, public one. He was going to ride with the guys he trusted. He wasn't going to be swayed by hype. Shedeur? Nah, he was still developing. Never mind the fact that the guy had been lighting it up in practice, or that fans had already started chanting his name in the stadium before kickoff. Stefanski drew a line in the sand. And then karma came knocking in week 2. The Browns went 0-2. The offense sputtered. National headlines mocked the team. Former players started subtweeting. The fan base wanted blood. And suddenly, that line Stefanski drew? It disappeared. Because here's what happens when you let pride drive your decisions in the NFL. You lose. And when you lose, the wolves come out. No one cares about your 5-year plan. No one wants to hear about player development timelines. They want points, wins, fire. And if you don't deliver, they'll come for your headset. And now, Stefanski's headset is hanging by a thread. Let's not pretend this Shedeur pivot is a masterstroke. It's not genius. It's not strategic brilliance. It's what desperate coaches do when the narrative is slipping out of their hands. And let's be honest, it already has. Because now, Stefanski's damned either way. If Shedeur goes out and lights it up, if he throws for 250 and a pair of touchdowns, the headlines won't read, "Great decision by Stefanski." They'll read, "Why didn't you do this 2 weeks ago?" If Shedeur struggles? If he looks like a rookie making rookie mistakes? Stefanski takes the heat again, this time for breaking glass and pulling the alarm too early. Either way, he's lost control of the narrative. And in the NFL, that's lethal. But let's talk about why this is bigger than just one coach's poor judgment. Because in Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders isn't just a rookie quarterback. He's a symbol, a beacon, a flash of something new. Something the Browns haven't had in decades. A quarterback who feels like more than just a temporary band-aid. He's got the arm, the poise, the pedigree, the media presence, the charisma. He walks into a room and people look up. And now, he walks into the huddle. Because karma, my friends, doesn't care about depth charts. It cares about timing. And when a team, a coach, a franchise refuses to evolve, when they get stubborn, when they think they know better than everyone watching, they get humbled. The Browns have been humbled. So here we are. Shedeur Sanders, the so-called project, the quarterback Stefanski swore wasn't ready, is now being thrown into the fire mid-season. No warning. No warm-up. No easing in. Just boom. All eyes on him. You want pressure? Try being 0-2, stepping into a divided locker room, and carrying the expectations of an entire fan base that hasn't seen consistency at quarterback since before iPhones had Face ID. But here's what makes Shedeur different. He's ready. This is a guy who grew up in stadiums, who watched his father, Deion Sanders, command rooms, lead locker rooms, dominate. Shedeur isn't just football savvy, he's media-proof. He knows how to handle the cameras, the questions, the criticism. What he doesn't know, yet, is how to navigate the mess he's being dropped into. Because this isn't just a debut. It's a referendum. On the coach. On the play calling. On the offensive line. On the front office. On every decision that got Cleveland to this moment. And maybe, just maybe, it's also a turning point. Because what if Shedeur shines? What if he is the spark? That's what the fans are clinging to right now. Not logic. Not stats. The idea that this kid, this untested rookie who was treated like an afterthought 2 weeks ago, might be the one who finally flips the script. Not just for this season, but for the Browns' entire football identity. And you know what? Maybe that's exactly what they need. Because right now, the team is fractured. The fan base is restless. The coaching staff is flailing. They don't need another game manager. They don't need another safe, boring, average quarterback to keep things respectable. They need a jolt. They need chaos. Swagger. Boldness. They need someone who makes them believe again. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need to be perfect. He doesn't even need to win the game. He just needs to show something Cleveland hasn't seen in a long time. If he does that, even for a moment, it'll mean more than any stat line. It'll mean the Browns aren't dead yet. That there's still a chance this season can be salvaged. That this team, this city, still has something to cheer for. And if he doesn't? If the team collapses again, if Stefanski's gamble crashes and burns? Well, start clearing out the coaching offices because the writing's already on the wall. Because here's the cruel beauty of the NFL. Every crisis is an opportunity in disguise. And this is Shedeur's shot. Not just to prove Stefanski wrong. Not just to save the season, but to show that no matter how messy, how desperate, how badly coached the Browns might be, there's still something worth watching in Cleveland. Still a reason to care. Still maybe a future. So what do you think? Was this Stefanski's redemption moment, or a final act of desperation? Can Shedeur turn the tide, or is this just another Browns meltdown in slow motion? Drop your take in the comments, and if you're here for every twist, turn, and scandal in this season-long soap opera called the NFL, hit that subscribe button. Because let's be real, this story? It's far from over. The Browns are no longer just a team searching for a win. They are a team searching for a soul. And now, all eyes are on Shedeur Sanders, a rookie quarterback who wasn't even supposed to be in this position yet, suddenly thrown into the storm to save a franchise that's been drowning for decades. Let that sink in. This is a franchise that has chewed through quarterbacks like candy on Halloween night. A graveyard of former, next big things, with names fans dare not speak aloud anymore, because it's just too painful. And now, they're doing that again, putting everything on the shoulders of a 21-year-old rookie. Not because he's had a breakout season. Not because he's earned it the old-school way. But because the team is in absolute free fall. And their head coach just pulled the ripcord on his job security. And it all circles back to Kevin Stefanski. This isn't just about a coaching decision, it's about a leadership collapse. When Stefanski dismissed Sanders just 2 weeks ago, it wasn't subtle. It was borderline dismissive. You could feel the subtext, we have better options. He's not the guy right now. He said it with his chest. And now he's walking it back so fast you'd think he was auditioning for a moonwalk competition. What happened, Kevin? 2 bad losses and a couple of ugly press conferences, And suddenly you're all aboard the Shedeur Express? This is what fans hate. This is what the locker room side-eyes. Not just losing, but weak leadership. The kind that makes loud declarations and then crumbles under the pressure of a bad game script. The kind that refuses to adapt until their job is hanging over the edge of a cliff. And let's talk about that pressure because it's not just coming from the fans. It's coming from inside the building. Word around the locker room is that players weren't thrilled with Stefanski's initial Shedeur comments. Some saw the rookie outperforming veterans in practice. Others questioned why the offense looked so predictable and sluggish. And still others wondered how many more years the team was going to play this game of figure it out by week 6. Spoiler, you don't get to week 6 when you're losing in week 2. So now the vibe is weird. The locker room is tense. Some guys are excited. Others are skeptical. Because when you throw in a new quarterback, especially a young one, you're not just changing plays. You're changing dynamics. You're hitting reset on chemistry, rhythm, trust. And Shedeur? He has to navigate that in real time. Let's be crystal clear, Shedeur didn't ask for this. He didn't lobby behind the scenes. He didn't leak quotes to reporters. He didn't do the whole diva QB thing. He showed up, studied film, took the scout team reps and waited. And now he's being handed a franchise in flames and told, here, fix it. That's not fair. But it's the NFL. Fair doesn't live here. And yet, somehow, you get the sense he's built for this. Because say what you want about the Sanders brand, the cameras, the social media presence, the sunglasses, the Deion-sized shadow always nearby, Shedeur has never looked rattled. Not in college. Not in press conferences. Not in training camp. He walks like someone who's used to the weight. And now, he's carrying a city's worth. The question isn't whether Shedeur can play. That's never been the question. The question is, can he survive the spotlight this early? Can he step into an offense that's borderline dysfunctional and still command respect? Can he rise above the noise, the critics, the unrealistic expectations being dumped at his feet? Can he do all that and somehow salvage the Browns season? Because let's be honest, this isn't about just winning one game. It's about reclaiming the narrative. Right now, Cleveland is the butt of every joke. Same old Browns. Quarterback roulette. Coach in over his head. The memes are flying faster than a fourth-quarter interception. And fair or not, Shedeur is now the only person who can shut that noise down. And here's where it gets twisted. If he does succeed, if he steps in and actually delivers, then we're not just talking about saving the season. We're talking about a new era. A Shedeur-centric offense. A new playbook. A franchise reshaping itself around a rookie who wasn't supposed to play this year. And Stefanski? He becomes an afterthought in his own comeback story. If Shedeur wins, Stefanski doesn't get credit. He gets questioned. Why didn't you do this sooner? What were you waiting for? And if Shedeur loses? Stefanski goes down with him. It's the classic NFL trapdoor. Damned if you do, crucified if you don't. Because now, every outcome is binary. There is no nuance. There is no grace period. There is no let the rookie grow. This team is 0-2. The fans are on edge. The division is brutal. And everyone is watching to see what this kid does with the ball in his hands and the weight of Cleveland on his back. But maybe that's what makes it so compelling. Because deep down, no matter how cynical, how jaded, how fed up Browns fans are with the cycle of hope and heartbreak, there's still a flicker. A flicker that says, what if he's different? What if all the signs, the swagger, the IQ, the arm talent, the calm under pressure, what if they mean something? What if this isn't just another experiment? What if this is the start of something real? Because in sports, it only takes one game, one breakout, one moment, one throw, to change everything. Maybe that's what Stefanski is banking on. Maybe, in the chaos of his own unraveling, he's finally ready to trust something he didn't build. Maybe he's desperate enough to hope. Or maybe, just maybe, he finally saw what the fans have been screaming for 2 weeks. That the old way isn't working. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to hand the keys to the future. So now we wait. For Sunday. For kickoff. For the first glimpse of a rookie quarterback stepping into an inferno and trying to turn it into something beautiful. No pressure, right? Shedeur Sanders is walking into the fire. And for Cleveland, it's either salvation or another name etched on the tombstone of what could have been. The city of Cleveland is teetering on the edge of full-scale emotional combustion. The Browns are 0-2. The coach has publicly embarrassed himself with a U-turn that could win an Olympic medal in mental gymnastics, and now Shedeur Sanders, the man who was supposedly not ready for this moment, is being asked to lead the team out of hell. Not just a team, a legacy of pain. An entire generation's worth of heartbreak, built up like scar tissue around a football field. You want to understand the weight of what Shedeur Sanders is stepping into? He's not just stepping under center. He's stepping into a haunted house filled with broken promises, cursed draft picks, and the ghosts of quarterback busts past. Every step he takes echoes with the names of Colt McCoy, Brady Quinn, Deshaun Kaiser, Johnny Manziel, and every other once promising name that was eaten alive by this franchise's dysfunction. But here's the difference. Shedeur Sanders isn't coming in to save the team. He's coming in to change the culture. That's the real play here. This isn't just a switch at QB. It's a symbolic shift. A baton pass from doing things the Cleveland way to maybe something new. Because let's not lie to ourselves. This franchise has been addicted to failure. Year after year, no matter how promising the roster looks on paper, no matter how hyped the draft picks, no matter how loud the fan optimism, it ends the same. The Browns collapse under the weight of their own expectations. But Shedeur? He wasn't born in that darkness. He wasn't raised in the shadow of mediocrity. He was raised by Deion Primetime Sanders, who doesn't do mediocrity, who doesn't believe in failure, who doesn't raise quarterbacks to be backup plans. And now his son is being called upon, on national television, in front of a nervous fan base, with a coach clinging to job security like a man holding onto the edge of a cliff, to fix what generations couldn't. It's Shakespeare with shoulder pads. Let's not pretend Shedeur doesn't know what's at stake. He's not naive. He understands what this is. This isn't a trial run. It's a trial by fire. If he loses, the critics will pounce. If he wins, they'll say it should have happened sooner. But here's what's really fueling this moment. It's not Stefanski's change of heart. It's not the injuries. It's not the media pressure. It's the fans. Because even after years of heartbreak, even after 2 gut-punch losses to start the season, even after watching their coach fumble decision after decision, Browns fans still showed up to practice chanting Shedeur's name. They didn't care that he hadn't played a snap. They didn't care that he was unproven. They saw him as something bigger than a stat sheet. They saw him as a spark. And in a city where the skies are often gray and the football outlook grayer, a spark can mean everything. This is what separates football from any other sport. It's not just about the game. It's about emotion. It's about history. It's about the belief that this time, it'll be different. That this guy might finally be the guy. So let's talk about Sunday. Because that's when this all becomes real. The stadium will be packed. Not just with hopeful fans, but with skeptics, doubters, analysts ready to pounce, and critics waiting to say, "Told you so." The pressure will be suffocating. The cameras will be locked on him from the second he steps off the bus. But when Shedeur Sanders takes that first snap, when he looks over the defense, locks eyes with the safety, and makes his first read, that will be the moment we know. Because here's what the Browns don't need. They don't need a safe quarterback who plays not to lose. They don't need another system guy just trying to execute the script. And they definitely don't need someone afraid to make a mistake. They need a disruptor. Someone who will walk into a broken situation and say, "Nah, I'm not playing this game your way." Someone who can rewrite the narrative not by doing what's expected, but by doing what no one sees coming. Shedeur has that energy, that confidence, that "I was built for this moment" aura that you either have or you don't. And maybe, just maybe, that's what scares people. Because if he succeeds, the entire system gets exposed. Stefanski gets exposed for waiting too long. The front office gets exposed for playing politics. And every Browns apologist who said, "He's not ready yet," gets hit with the cold, hard truth. You didn't need more time. You needed more courage. Courage to take the risk. Courage to bet on potential. Courage to admit that maybe, just maybe, a 21-year-old rookie saw the field more clearly than the grown men in suits. And what happens if he comes out and delivers? If Shedeur slings it for 2 touchdowns, maybe breaks off a run that sends the stadium into hysteria, maybe even wins the game in the final 2 minutes? Then everything changes. The fans will explode. The national media will spin. Is this the new face of Cleveland? The ESPN ticker will read, Sanders' era begins. And suddenly, the team that couldn't find the end zone last week will be the story of the NFL. Because the league runs on narratives. And this one? It's ready to blow. But let's not sugarcoat it. This moment is dangerous. Because if it goes sideways, if Shedeur throws picks, if the offense looks worse, if it's clear he wasn't ready, then the fallout will be nuclear. The fans will fracture. The media will feast. And the locker room? Oh, the locker room will get ugly. Not because of the loss, but because of what it represents. A team with no direction. A coach who gambled too late. A franchise that put all its chips on a kid and asked him to fix the sins of decades past, without the tools to succeed. And if that happens, this won't be Stefanski's team anymore. It'll be Shedeur's. Because once the rookie gets the keys, there's no going back. You don't bench a spark. You either fan the flame or watch it burn the house down. So here we are, on the edge of what could be redemption or ruination. A quarterback, a coach, a city that's been through too much to pretend this is just another game. It's not. It's a reckoning. One way or another, something ends this Sunday. Maybe it's Stefanski's job. Maybe it's the myth that Shedeur isn't ready. Maybe it's the cycle of false starts and failed experiments that's defined Cleveland football since before half the fan base was born. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the beginning of something we've never seen before. A quarterback. A real one. Wearing brown and orange. Leading a broken team out of the dark. And into something brighter. So tell me, do you believe? Is this the spark that finally lights the fire? Or are we watching history repeat itself all over again? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're riding this wild roller coaster of drama, despair, and maybe, just maybe, redemption, hit that subscribe button. Because in Cleveland, the story's just getting good.